You can call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Christian Leroy Duncan takes on Andrey Pulyaev this Saturday on the prelims of UFC Fight Night London, England. And I feel like this is kind of a mismatch. I feel like they're pulling in Pulyaev out of nowhere town, Russia, to be the sacrificial lamb for the hometown kid and Christian Leroy Duncan. Andrey Pulyaev, big guy, 6'4", 78.5 reach. Coming off of a win on Dana White's Contender Series against a guy named Liam Anderson that you nor I have never heard of. Was 6-2 at the time. Was supposed to beat this guy. Andrey Pulyaev was a plus 170 underdog. Ended up squeaking out a decision over Liam Anderson. I just look at Liam Anderson and I look at his career, and he just hasn't fought anybody. He fought and beat a guy who was 38-21 to get his spot on Dana White's Contender Series, which really shows you where we're going to the bottom of the barrel to get fights on the Contender Series. Beat a guy who was 2-1, 1-0, 4-2. Anybody that's has a decent record. Seems like he's losing to Anbarbek. Daniel Bekov was 4-0, knocked him out. Jakub Tugambayev beat him. He was 7-2 at the time, who's now like 10-5. Beat a guy who was 1-2, 3-7, 1-3. Just hasn't fought very good competition at all. And honestly, I can't find a lot of footage on him, so this is going off of pure optics and resume at this point. Christian Leroy Duncan, however, very good fighter. Very good striker, a lot of experience. Spent his entire professional career in either Cage Warriors or the UFC. Has 7 fights in Cage Warriors, finished all but one of those fights. Went to a decision with Will Curry, but he had finished him prior to that. Got his shot in the UFC, knocked out, or didn't knock out, sorry, was beaten Dusko Todorovic before he got a knee injury. Lost to Armin Petrosyan, which isn't, awful. Armin Petrosyan is an okay fighter. Not the best record so far in the UFC, but he's decent. He's much better than the guys that Pulyaev is fighting. Beat Dennis Tululin, beat Claudio Ribeiro, went to a very close fight with Gregory Rodriguez. I wouldn't say close fight. He got handled and beat pretty convincingly, but that's against Gregory Rodriguez, who's very good and top level in the UFC and much better than the guys that Andrey Pulyaev is fighting. So I'm going to go with CLD to get this one done. I think he puts out Pulyaev in front of the hometown crowd. He's just a very good striker. He has tons of momentum right now. Fighting, not momentum, but has tons more experience, than Pulyaev in the UFC. Pulyaev's a big guy, pretty big frame, 6'4", but CLD's only going to be 2 inches shorter, but he's going to have the reach advantage. He's just almost as young as Pulyaev, 29 versus Pulyaev's 27. I just think Christian Rodriguez is, he's the more tested fighter, more finishing potential in my opinion against better competition. Tons of amateur fights as well. You look at this guy's record, he has amateur fights dating back to 2015. So he fought for 5 years on the regional scene. He's probably got at least 20 fights here before going pro. And seeing his only 2 losses in the UFC against good competition. So going to go with Christian Leroy Duncan. More tactical, better on the feet, good chin. I think he gets this one done. He's a huge favorite too, minus 550. I feel like they just brought this guy in for CLD to stunt on in front of his hometown crowd. So Christian Leroy Duncan gets this one done by KO. Thanks.